Hi folks, I'm glad you're here. Thank you very much for joining me. Yeah, this picture, I really like it, and I think it's appropriate for what's going on today. I think we just stepped a little bit closer to World War III. I mentioned on Twitter this morning how it was a slow news day, and I knew that meant something big was coming. This is the worst thing I think could possibly happen. You know that Russia has used the excuse it invaded Ukraine because of the threat of them becoming a member of NATO. The European Union today, Thursday, December 14th, 2023, agreed to open membership talks with Ukraine. EU leaders gathered in Brussels and are still debating a package for Ukraine worth more than $50 billion. Aid seen as critical for Kiev to keep fighting. They're losing the war. They're being slaughtered. Currently, an aid package from the United States is being held up, and Biden has threatened to send your sons and daughters and, your cousins and uncles and fathers to Ukraine if, he doesn't get the money that he feels he needs to send to Zelensky. You know, it all started when Zelensky blackmailed Biden about the secret dealings that were going on there in Ukraine with his son, Hunter. Russia will not stand for this. You know it's going to escalate things there. You need to be prepared. Lately, there's been all kinds of cyber attacks. That is the first act of war. I would not be surprised if there's a false flag attack there in Ukraine or in Russia, caused by Ukraine, of a dirty bomb or a nuclear weapon. It's all part of their plan to reduce the world's population, to take control, to be in full control by 2030. They say that EU membership is realistically still many years away, but they are calling this a historical moment for Ukraine, which has pushed for many years to join the bloc. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky said today, history is made by those who don't get tired of fighting for freedom. He posted this on Twitter, and I translated it. There is a decision to open negotiations on the accession of Ukraine and Moldova to the EU. I thank everyone who worked for this solution. Thank you to everyone who helped. I congratulate every Ukrainian man and woman. I congratulate all of Moldova and you. Personally, history is made by those who never tire of fighting for freedom. The Hungarian Prime Minister said he would block the decision, and he put up a Twitter post that says, starting accession negotiations with Ukraine is a bad decision. Hungary did not participate in this decision. And there they are speaking, talking, Yeah, this is a very bad decision. Unless you want war, unless you want to decrease the world's population, what do you think will come next? A false flag? A dirty bomb? Yeah. So he says he does not want this bad decision. Did not participate in the decision. Negotiations continue with the amendment on the budget. Said they've been in negotiations for about 8 hours here in Brussels, and they're having the debate, etc. I don't know how long this Twitter post is. Ukraine is not prepared to start negotiations on EU membership. It is completely useless, irrational, and Hungary will not change its position. And it goes on. On the other hand, 26 other countries insisted that this decision be made. I wonder what those 26 countries are. If the 26 decide to do so, they should. Hungary does not want to share. It's a bad decision. As for the reason it did not participate, negotiations continue with the amendment of the budget. He said there was 7 preconditions that Ukraine had to meet before he would approve of any negotiations. He said that they only met 3 of the conditions, and so there is no reason to discuss it because the preconditions were not met. He also said that the fast track of Ukraine into the European Union would have unforeseen consequences. I think the European Union was trying to sway Hungary because on the eve of the summit, they unlocked more than $10 billion that was frozen in a novel effort to get member countries to abide by democratic principles, as they call it. The Commission said on Wednesday that Hungary had now met conditions related to judicial independence. Some insist the timing was coincidence. Others said it was giving in to blackmail. The fact that Ukraine is still at war makes its case more complicated. There's talk that if there's a dirty bomb that is set off there or a nuclear weapon off either in Ukraine or in Russia, that if any of that nuclear material, the cloud, the ash, whatever, drifts over any NATO countries, then they can declare Article 5 and go in and do a full-bore attack on Russia. Believe me, they're gearing up for war. Finland, they say, on Monday, December 18th, will sign a defense cooperation agreement with the United States. The agreement is to grant the U.S. military broad access across the Nordic country to the vicinity of its long border with Russia. This agreement with the United States is aimed at allowing swift military access and aid to Finland in case of conflict. The agreement lists 15 facilities and areas in Finland to which the U.S. military will have unimpeded access and where it can also store military equipment and ammunition. The areas will include 4 air bases, a military port, and railway access to northern Finland, where the U.S. military will have a strong area alongside a railway that leads up to the Russian border. Finland is currently improving its railway infrastructure on its Swedish border to make it easier for allies to send reinforcement and equipment from across the Atlantic to Kemijärvi, an hour's drive from the Russian border and 7 hours from Russia's nuclear bastions and military bases that would be in the Kola Peninsula. As you know, Finland recently joined NATO. Sweden is still waiting, but still, they did sign an agreement last week giving the United States access to 17 areas, including 4 air bases, 1 harbor, and 5 military camps. The United States has signed similar agreements with Norway, Bulgaria, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Slovakia, the Czech Republic, Hungary, Estonia, and they're waiting for an agreement to be made with Denmark. So that one's still pending approval. So the agreement's going to be signed Monday on the 18th. Yeah, anything could happen between now and then. I'm sure they're already getting ready and sending all the equipment and personnel. When Ukraine becomes a member of NATO, they would be eligible for funds to equalize the standard of living and support its huge agricultural sectors. They would get over 6 years, divided up over 6 years, $106 billion for the agricultural policy, and about another $61 billion under the EU's concession policy, which is aimed at equalizing the standard of living across the bloc. All total, Ukraine would get about $204 billion. This would mean that many countries which are now net recipients of EU funds would become net contributors, and existing net contributors would have to pay more. There are currently 27 EU members. That was one of the big things that the United States under Trump complained about, how the United States was constantly contributing more money than any of the other countries. Many of them were supposed to contribute to the fund, but they didn't, and it ended up being the United States contributing most of it. And Trump was against that. I don't know if you remember that or not. Supposedly the next hurdle for Ukraine And the 2-day EU summit is to secure 500 billion euros, or about 52 billion US dollars, in proposed aid for the country. So he waits for aid from the United States, but within 2 days he may get $52 billion. Just more money to be siphoned off, right? Yeah, definitely keep prepping. Prep until your food and water and medical supplies are up to the rafters. Most important, water. Yeah, poking the bear. Something's gonna happen. Be alert. Keep your head on a swivel. I don't think people really realize how bad a cyber attack, if it took out the infrastructure here in the United States, it would probably be worse than an EMP. Everything nowadays is connected to the internet. And if that went down, your water systems, your sewage systems, communication for transport of goods and food, hospitals, look how many hospitals, they just look up online their diagnosis for different things. Yeah, how much medication a person's supposed to receive, filling orders from the hospital to the pharmacy for medications, the dispatch of emergency services, fire, police, ambulances, that would all be down. GPS would be down. No cell phones. There would be no sharing of information of what is going on if the internet went down from a cyber attack. Maybe someone out there can answer a question for me, but years ago they used to have a doomsday type thing, that if our nuclear bases lost communication after a certain length of time, they would automatically fire off their nuclear payloads. I don't know if they still have that or not. You'll have to tell me. I mean, we're led to believe that it's still an age where you got two people down in the silo that have to turn the key at the same time. But I don't know if that's still the case. Do they have a policy where if they lose communication with the surface and they can't get to the surface because the power is down to find out what's going on, do they have a time period to launch their missiles? Can you tell me if they do or not? Yeah, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for your support. I got some people that sent me some PayPal donations. Thank you so much. God bless you. Please be prepared. Please stay safe, and I'll talk to you later. God bless you.